Thanks for joining us today. I'm Gabe Garish, owner of Backwoods Pursuit, and for today's video, we pulled together 13 of the best headlamps that we could find. So if you are out there looking for the best headlamp for hunting, or the best headlamp for camping, or the best headlamp for just any general use, hiking, backpacking, any of those functions, we're going to cover some of the features and the functions of these and what you want to look for in a headlamp when you're making your selection. As always, really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button for us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll put a link to that down in the description, as well as a link to our website, backwoodspursuit.com, a ton of other gear reviews over there. And I'll put a link to all these 13 headlamps in the description for you so you can check them out for yourself if you see one that looks interesting. Let's dive into this review. All right, now let's talk about some of the specific features you may want to consider when you're making your selection for a headlamp. Now for me, if I'm hunting, I want a certain set of features, and that's going to include something with a red light, and a non-game spooking light like that on the coast here. I also want something that's going to be as compact and lightweight as possible. Obviously you want to save as much weight as you can, and that's going to apply obviously to backpacking and hiking as well. Another feature that is really, really critical for me when I'm out hunting or hiking or backpacking is to have battery lockout. So something that's going to allow you to lock the battery or have it not accidentally turn on, so you don't turn your headlamp on when you're going to hike out in the dark and it's dead. That's a huge feature. And then of course battery life is great to have a nice long battery life, but there's kind of that tension between lightweight and a larger battery to push out a lot of light and to have a lot more length of time that you can use that. So those are all, you'll see here as we go through this, there's a tension between lightweight and brightness and the length of time that you can use it, but there's kind of a couple of these here that are really, really good balance of all those things. Now I've got these lined up in the order of brightness here, starting down here on the small coast here is at 300 lumens, all the way up to this large Fenix HM70R at 1600 lumens, so incredibly bright, and really everything in between. So as far as brands and models here, we've got several Coast models here. We've got a couple here from 511 Tactical. We've got a Petzl. We've got a couple from Black Diamond here, a couple from Coast there as well, four total from Coast. And then we've also got 4 here from Fenix, these guys here in various models and configurations. So lots of great options here. Now a lot of these seem to be going more towards rechargeable style batteries, which is kind of nice in the sense that if you are out and you have some way to charge, so whether it be your headlamp or something else with you when you're out backpacking or hunting or hiking, and then your headlamp goes dead, then you can recharge that. So it is kind of nice, but it is more expensive to buy a backup battery, so there's pros and cons to the rechargeable aspect of these things. Now we're going to go over some of the specifications and the things that stood out to me as I was testing these. Here we've got the Coast FL1. This is a 300 lumen headlight. It's got a red light. It's got battery lockout. It's 1.5 ounces. And so it's just a really, really nice little headlamp for something that's going to be shorter trips or that sort of thing. Or it's an awesome, awesome backup light if you want something to throw in your pack at 1.5 ounces to make sure if you lose your primary lamp or just it goes dead or whatnot on you, this is plenty to get you back to the truck. That's a great little light that way. And it gives you pretty much everything that you need, lightweight and everything for a backup light or a primary light, as long as you know that the battery life is not going to be awesome in that, because the rechargeable battery, it's rechargeable, is not going to last all that long. And on all the specs here, I've got all the details and all the specs here. Those are going to be over on the website, backwoodspursuit.com. I've got it all charted out here for the battery life for the various functions, so go check that out. You can get that by subscribing on the website. The next up here is the 511 Tactical. This is the Response 1AA. This is very cool in that it offers you both a floodlight and a spotlight here. So 2 buttons on the side. So the front button here is the floodlight control, so that's on and off, and then the back button here is the spotlight control. So you have a number of options there. So it does not have a red light, unfortunately. It does not have battery lockout, so it's maybe not going to be the best option for backpacking or hiking or hunting, that kind of thing, but a great work light or other types of camping and those kinds of things. Super, super durable with the real housing there, and it's 4.3 ounces and 330 lumens. Again, no red light on that one. Next up, the Petzl Tactikka RGB. So it comes in with the red, green, and blue light, as well as your white light. Your white light is 3-stage here. So you got 3 brightness options there. A pretty good battery life with this as well. And it's super lightweight at 2.6 ounces, I believe it is. 2.6 ounces, 350 lumens. So you got a nice brightness, plenty bright for a primary headlamp. Now it doesn't have the lockout feature, which is kind of a bummer. It does have a real nice headband here that unclips. It's the only one like this that unclips, so it makes it easier to get on and off. This can be paired easily with this Noctilight, and this is awesome because you just open this guy up, throw the headlamp in here, and it turns that. It's a light diffuser, so it turns that into more or less a lantern, which is I used a lot with my haunt tent, my seek outside haunt tent, or any tent. You just hang it from there, and it works as a lamp. So that's really cool. I did find that this worked really well. This shell that Petzl makes as well fits right in there nicely. And that's going to do the same thing as far as a lockout. It's going to allow you to not have that accidentally turn on because that's a hard shell. So any of these smaller ones will fit in one of these two. And so that works really nice. I liked that. Next up, we've got two black diamond lights here, the Revolt and the Storm. The Revolt here is the rechargeable model of these are very, very similar, but one's rechargeable and one's not. So this is the rechargeable model. You've got 350 lumens for the Revolt. The Storm, you have 400 lumens. And again, this is alkaline rechargeable. And so you've got a little bit of a weight difference here as well. The Revolt here comes in at 3.2 ounces with the rechargeable battery, whereas you get 4 ounces with the Storm here with the alkaline batteries. Battery life is great on these. Now these, the two black diamond here are probably the most unique in the way that they function. They have a 2-finger, probably the best lockout of any of these as far as battery lockout. It takes 2 fingers to lock these or unlock them. So you do that, and then that's going to make sure that that light does not turn on. It takes 2 hands to unlock that as well. So accidentally turning these on is nearly impossible, which is awesome. So you're never going to have a dead headlamp when you don't want it. So on the downside, that is kind of it can be a pain to have to push both of those because you can't really do it with gloves on very well to get that unlocked. So, but it is really nice. Now the black diamonds have some of the more complicated functionalities as far as how you use the number of clicks you use to get to the different functions. Now to turn on the black diamond, you hit the big button on the top, and then they give you what they call power tap. So you can tap the side and it adds the floodlight to the main beam, which gives you extra brightness. So then you can cycle through the different options with the small button on the side, go to your flood, then to your red, then back to the main spotlight, and then of course power it off with the big button. Now they also have a dimmer function, so you turn it on and then hold the big button down. It cycles down to the lowest option, dims down to that, and then dims back up to the brightest. Now it does have memory as well, so if you turn it on and then say wanted to go to your red light, it'll remember that you were on red, and so you turn it off and then back on, and it remembers that you were using your red light. So they take a little more getting used to, so if you like simplicity in a headlamp, I wouldn't recommend the black diamonds. I've used black diamond for a lot of years and never had any problems. They've been super durable, really good battery life that way. Next up, we've got a couple of the Coast headlamps here. This guy here is the Coast, the FL78R, and this guy is the FL85R. So the FL78R comes in at 530 lumens, and you've just got one on-off button here. It does not lock out, unfortunately, and as you can see, you can cycle through the bright down a couple settings down to off. The button on this side gives you your red, which is kind of nice, and then you can also have a green light, so it goes red, green, then off. So it cycles through. One of the things I forgot to mention is some of these have direct access to your red light, which is really nice, and some don't, like these ones do. You can go directly to your red light without ever having to cycle through your white light, which is nice that way. That way you're not having to cover the front if you need to get to your red, not spook game or something like that. So 530 lumens, very lightweight at 3.2 ounces, which is really, really nice. Battery life is pretty darn good, and that's again a rechargeable model as well. Now the FL85R, the 85R here, it comes in at 3.9 ounces, so just a little bit heavier, but a whole lot more bright as well. It comes in with 700 lumens. As you can tell, it's a little bit bigger as well. Again, it's rechargeable, and you've got the same functionality as far as your on and off. On this side, it's really inline. Neither of these have a battery lockout, which I've found to be a bummer because I really like these Coast lights. But the first time I used this guy, the 85R, I threw it in my pack and went to turn it on when I was hiking out in the dark, and it was dead because the button had been pushed in the side of on the side pouch of my pack. So that was a bummer. But you can take measures like something like this, or make sure it's in a spot in your pack that's not going to happen. But neither of these do have a lockout. And what's cool about both of these Coast headlights is that you've got the dial on the front here that turns from a spot all the way out to a flood type of a light. So you've got both options there at all of the brightnesses. So it's really cool that way. And then on this side, you have your red light that you can turn on and off that way. So So they're very, very nice lights. I like these coast lights a lot. I just wish that they had that battery lockout to save that situation where you actually turn that on, and like that happened with this guy, it was dead when I went to pull it out, and I went to my backup light for that hike out. Now the Fenix HM50R, this was one of my favorite headlamps when I was testing. 2.7 ounces, 700 lumens. It does have battery lockout, and it's just a great, super durable little headlamp. Now, the battery lockout is not my favorite. You can push it right here, push it once, and it doesn't turn on, you can see. So it's not going to turn on just with a push of a button, but it only takes about a 1 second push to have that flip on. So it's kind of a bummer that way. I wish the battery lockout took either a longer push or was something a little more difficult to turn on, because it could still turn on in your pack, but at least it has something there, so that's great. And the other cool thing about this one, you've got direct access to your red light. So if you double tap the side here, it goes directly to your red light. That was cool, definitely one of my favorites. Great combination of lightweight, compact, and a lot battery lockout. Super bright when you need it, but you can tone it way down and get better battery life out of that. So great light there. Now, getting into some of these guys here, these are a little more lumens. This guy's 1,000 lumens. This is the Coast XPH30R. This is one of their newer ones here, 1,000 lumens, super, super bright, no red light on this guy, and no battery lockout. So that's kind of a bummer there, but you have a turbo mode. You just hold the side down and it turns that sucker on, and it is super bright. And like all the Coast models, you got the spotlight to floodlight twist on the front, so it's super cool that way. And it's non-directional, which is really cool too, so you can turn it, doesn't matter if you put this on upside down or not, it can go either way, however you want to use it. So this is a great camping type headlamp, work headlamp, you know, something where you don't need that battery lockout or a red light. That's an awesome, awesome headlight. Again, 1,000 lumens, and some of the other specs here, 5.1 ounces. So it's actually pretty lightweight as well, especially for that kind of brightness. And again, specs for the burn times in these in that spreadsheet over on the website. Just subscribe to the email newsletter and you'll find that. So next up, the 511 response. This is the XR1. This is a cool headlamp. It's a little heavier at 6.1 ounces, but over 1,000 lumens, 1,021. And like its smaller brother here, you've got a 2-button deal on the side here, 2 controls. So the one in the front controls that floodlight, so on and off there. One in the back controls the flood, which is really a nice feature, and turn that guy off. And the cool thing about this is it also has a red light as well. So you hold down that front, you can have direct access to that red light as well. So red floodlight, which is real cool. So I like that a lot. Does not have battery lockout, unfortunately. That's one of the bummers of this guy. And it's a little bit on the heavier side, but definitely if you want a bright headlight and something you want to take with you out in the field, backpacking or hiking, this is a great option, especially if you still need that red light. A super durable option, rechargeable battery there as well. And both of these were rechargeable if I didn't mention that either. Now for the Fenix HM61R, this is an awesome light. It's 1,200 lumens. It does have a red light. It does have battery lockout and just 5.1 ounces. Really the only knock I can find on this one, you don't have direct access to your red light. So if you hold the side button down, you go white and then red. But within the red light, you do have multiple brightnesses. So it's kind of cool that way. So even a flashing red light if you want that. So multiple brightnesses and flashing. So that's pretty cool. And so you have just a number of functions there and a turbo setting at the end there. So I think it's 5 total on this guy. So a ton of uses that way. You can dial that way down if you need to. So if you don't want all that light, it goes down to the high runtime but low output on that lower setting. So that's a fantastic light if you want to go a little bit heavier but want those extra lumens. Next up, the Fenix HM65R-T. This one is a little bit heavier. Actually it's not. It's 4.9 ounces, so a little lighter even. But it does not have a red light. But you have 2 separate light functions here on the top. You got 2 controls as well. So you have on this side, it does have a better battery lockout. I like this one better. It's kind of protected by a little sheath on the top here. So you almost have to pull it back off of that. And then you hold this one down and it turns that side on over here. And so you have that side that you can control independently from this side. And so you can turn them both on or just one of them. And so you can really get this thing cranking if you want to. So that turn this guy off. 4.9 ounces, and this one comes in at 1,500 lumens. So you turn both of those guys on and you have plenty of light to do whatever you need to do. And a pretty good battery life with this guy as well. Of course, you have a ton of different features as far as the brightness settings there. But I do like the way that this battery lockout works. It tells you right on the top in blue if you've activated that or if you need to hold that down. So two different independent functions there, so you can just use this side here that is not as bright and just go through those if you want more of a floodlight type of thing. If you want the spotlight, you go on that side or together. So great option that way. A little bit heavier, but not too bad. But if you don't need that red light, that's a great option. So great camping option. The strap on this is a little bit unique. It's kind of like one of those locking straps. So you pull that out, and it's going to allow you to make that bigger and clamp that down, and then it tightens down on your head. So really great for a type of a work light as well, or camping even, or if you just don't need that white light or red light. So great option there. Now the last one here is the Fenix HM70R. This is the heaviest one at 7.27 ounces. It's definitely heavier, definitely bulky, but it comes in at 1600 lumens, incredibly bright, and has a ton of features. So if you're okay with a little extra weight and want something like this out in the field for a hunting or hiking situation, it's got red light, 1600 lumens, 7.2 ounces, and a pretty good battery life for all of that, the power that you get with this. So like the other ones, you hold that on, you got your spot function there, so you can go through the brightness functions there and then hold that to turn that off. Double tap that and you can go directly to your red light, which is awesome. So it checks that box for me as well. And then it goes over to a red floodlight on that side as well, which is kind of cool. And then multiple functions within that and a blinking red light. So hold that back down. Just crazy bright light, 1600 lumens again. So awesome that way. Great headlamp, super durable, and again, not directional. It does have this top strap on the headband, but you can take that off like any of these. If they do have that, you can take it off. I don't really like that; it just gets in the way, so I typically take that off if I'm going to use something like this. But a little more bulky, a little heavier. But man, it's so bright and an awesome light that way. So it's going to cover a lot of boxes and check a lot of boxes for you if you want that. So that's the rundown here of all these lights. Drop a comment or question on any of these. Love to help you out, get you pointed in the right direction. Let me know which one, which style, which features are most important for you. Love to hear from you, hear your feedback. And again, love to get you pointed in the right direction. The links to all these down in the description for you, so you can go pick one up for yourself if it looks like something that might be useful for you. Thanks for joining us here today. We'll see you next time.